firstly, I want to thank most of you for coming in and going through our initial process of getting power and all those other details sorted. And I promise you that as we go and with your support, we'll continue to develop it. So I'm not going to share a poem with you. I'm going to share a little bit of an idea or a concept. And the concept that I want to talk to you about today is the concept of self-love. The ability to love yourself from a very new dimension or a very new level. It is something that we overhear. We always get these things in social media and in the networks today that talk to us about, oh, you should just love yourself. You know, everything's good if you find it inside of yourself first. You know, you can't be happy until you're happy. But the roadmap given to us for this is very poor. It's usually just a bunch of silly affirmations and a bunch of little positive thinking ideas. And I want to offer you a very short but very effective idea on how to achieve this. For yourself and for your life and hopefully for everyone else. And this will maybe give you some insight into what we're ultimately trying to achieve inside of this space. The concept of inner city Zen is really to find that Zen inside of the city that is your inner life. We all live in the world that we do today with social media, with technology and all these other influences begging for our attention. But what it's doing more actively, it's begging and manipulating our perception of value. We're being constantly bombarded and told what we're supposed to associate value to. How you're supposed to look in order to attain your most fundamental emotional, psychological, and spiritual needs. If you want to have sex, if you want to have food, if you want to have relationships, if you want to have money, you're supposed to do X, Y, Z. And if you do X, Y, Z, then you'll get there. You'll be happy. But then you get to X, Y, Z and you realize you're still not there. You're still not happy. I turned 34 and I was in the middle of a tattoo session that lasted about 7 hours. And after 7 hours of a needle in my chest, my body had a little bit of a breakdown and was at that perfect time where my body was strained enough so I could get past my own BS, my own belief systems. And the thing about getting past your own BS and dropping deep into your narrative, you're deep into your psychology as you become aware of your narrative. You become aware of the story that you were telling yourself the whole time. And I had a very specific narrative that I was telling myself of who I needed to be, how I needed to act, and this narrative was burning me out. I was running out of fuel emotionally even though I was successful externally. And I realized one very important thing. That I have a 3-year-old son. And there's one thing that I do not want as a father for my 3-year-old son. I don't want him to reach the age of 35 and enter relationships that don't fulfill him. Being with partners or being in a business that doesn't bring him joy, but he's there because he's trying to impress. He's trying to live the story of someone else's narrative that tells him about his beliefs and his values and who he's supposed to be, and constantly coming from a place of need. And I believe this is what the problem is in our world today. You know, we always say that 10% of the world's wealth, or all the world's wealth, 90% of the world's wealth is controlled by 10% of its people. And we have this hallucination that those are the rich. If you are rich, do you need to hide your wealth? If you're rich in knowledge, if you have excess in knowledge, do you preserve it, keep it secretly, or do you share it with anybody that's willing to learn?
That's good. That's good.
When you have wisdom, you share it because you don't feel lack. You don't believe in a limitation. And this is the same thing that happens when you're out there in a context and someone is looking for attention, they're looking for love, they're looking for support, and you're shutting down. The real reason that you're shutting down is you're saying, I don't have. And I'm not saying that you go give money to the first beggar on the side of the road, but I am saying you start at the place that's most important. You look very honestly and very clearly at the narrative that you have about your life and about yourself and about the people that we share this world in. Quantum mechanics is a very beautiful idea that they share with us, and it's the concept of the observer effect. And if any one of you have ever studied quantum mechanics or looked in these concepts, you'll understand the Heisenberg principle of uncertainty says that the speed and the position of an atom cannot be determined at the same time. And the reason it cannot be determined is because us, as the observer, actually collapses the wave of creation into a physical particle through the act of observation. So in other words, there's a part of you right now that's manipulating reality. It's not something that you're going to discover. It's not a power that you're going to evoke. It's something that you're actively doing right now unconsciously. And the driving force behind that is your narrative. So if the universe that we live in is a world of quantum infinite potential, because that's what physics teaches us. Physics teaches us that inside of this quantum field is every single potential right now. And I like the sayings from the Gospel of St. Thomas, the living sayings of Jesus Christ. And this is not, you know, if you're religious, I'm accepting of that, because you hear it in this, we hear it in many other traditions, and we can share it. But it says this: lift a stone and you will find me, break a piece of wood and I am there. The kingdom of heaven is within you and all about you. But when we looked at these definitions of the states of heaven, we looked at states like love, joy, happiness, fulfillment. All of these states are constantly around you. And the ability to experience love, and it's something that's going to emerge itself from this short talk, is the question of where you are inside of your narrative. In your narrative, your experience of love, is that an easy thing to get? Or is it that once in a lifetime opportunity? Because that's the beautiful Hollywood lie. The Hollywood lie that sells a lot of movies for us and a lot of products for us says you're only going to find the one, and it's only going to be on that one day, and only when you've achieved all these great things, and it's that once in a lifetime opportunity. And that's a very interesting narrative that closes us off from love. It closes us off from finding joy and finding happiness that's present right now. Here's another fact. Your brain, your cerebellum, calculates 400 billion bits of information per second. Yet consciously, we can only process 2,000 bits. Your subconscious mind knows where love is, knows where joy is, knows where happiness is, knows how to reach your goals. But your story is what determines what that 2,000 bits highlights and what it disconnects from. So what if, leaving here today, you start a journey with us and you start a journey with yourself? When you fall in love with someone, I mean Hollywood level love, you know, the kind of stuff we're sold to believe in, and you treat that person a certain way, you cook them meals, you write them poetry, you do all these things. When was the last time you did that for yourself? When was the last time you made an exclusive meal for yourself? Bought yourself the absolute best? When you really genuinely love somebody and they say, oh, you know, I'd really like to do this with my life. You don't go, whatever, bro. You go, let's make it happen. When was the last time you showed that commitment to your secret dreams? Your secret dreams, that kind of stuff, or do you say that's just silly? Or do you take it seriously and make that valuable? Or do you make valuable what media, marketing, and advertising tells us is going to make us happy? The thing that makes us happy is the narrative. It's the story about ourselves. It's the story about our people. We have people in the government and all around the world, and I don't want to say any kind of things to badmouth anything, but we have narratives out there that tells us we're different because of our sexuality, because of our race, because of our religion, because of this, and the other. And all that does is it creates a generation of people that are insecure and can't relate and are emotionally unfulfilled. And they're writing social media statuses because they think they get validated in social media, and the only thing that happens there is a cyber sense of validation, disconnecting them even more from their true selves. This is the problem in our society. If we want to heal this world, we start by healing its story. We start by being its story. I love an old notion that they called the Christhood, they called it the Logos. And the concept of the Logos was a concept of frequency and vibration. And the vibration is the vibration of your heart. It's not the story that's in my head, it's the story that's in my heart. And the moment that story becomes my life, that's when I know I'm true to it. So I ask you again, how difficult is it for you to feel true love, true joy, true fulfillment, true creativity? Is inspiration something you have to go to the mountains to find? Or is it present in every single moment of life? Because all language is hypnosis. All language is hypnosis. Every single word is the logos, is vibration. And every single thing that we engage recognizes this truth. You are a co-creator. You are the creator of your life. And you actually have a scientifically measurable impact on matter and on the rest of the world. If your consciousness is able to collapse waves into energy points, what do you think your perception of other people does to their emotions? If other human beings have the same brain as you do and it calculates 400 billion bits, are they picking up what you're projecting? We don't go to what people say, we go to their vibe. And the vibe determines your tribe, it determines who you attract and who you live with. Love is a simple principle in spirituality. Love says this. I love in the old Sanskrit concept, our idea of love had over 320 different uses. In other words, there were over 320 different words to describe this concept called love. How many do we have in the English language? 13 if we're lucky. If you ever watched the movie Arrival, I love the concept there because in the film Arrival, the language that she started evoking gave her the ability to see through time. Because the language that we're using, the conversation that we're using in our head, literally rewires the neocortex, literally rewires the brain and determines the possibility that's come up. So I'll ask you a favor, and we're going to have a little bit of talk later. We're going to go through a bit of a ceremonial process where we're going to let you share in a transformation, and we're going to talk about that. But I want to leave you with this very simple concept. I want you to wake up tomorrow morning, and I want you to be aware of what is the voice inside of your head. Is the voice inside of your head one that says, oh shit, do I have to do this? Thank fuck it's Sunday because I've got Monday still ahead of me. At least it's one more day of weekend. Does the voice say to you, I'm lonely? Does the voice say to you, men are like this? Does the voice say to you, women are like this? Because that voice determines the focus of your psyche, which determines what you evoke in the quantum mechanical world. And that is the energy that then flows inside of you. As the old Taoists say, where attention goes, energy flows. But what if instead of in your mind, you said something else? And this is a system that we call quantum prayer. Now you've all heard the concept of affirmations. I say an affirmation, which means I say something positive about my life, but it doesn't mean crap if I feel shit and I'd speak positive. That's called a contradiction. Because what you feel, your vibe, is what shows up, not just what you say. So I want you to be honest about your feelings. I want you to stop pretending that you're not depressed when you are, that you're not unhappy when you are, that you're not feeling stressed when you are, overwhelmed when you are. I want you to stop pretending that you're great and acting like the other part of you isn't worth loving. When we talk about maturing your darkness, is when I tell you it's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel unloved. It's okay to feel like you're not enough because you're not supposed to be perfect. It's okay for you to love your weakness as much as your power, your shadow as much as your light. Because when a little baby gets born and you hold it in your arms and it can't freaking talk and it can't freaking walk, you're not sitting there judging it for it. Why the hell are we doing that to ourselves when we're not perfect yet and we're trying to be? So what if instead the story you started telling yourself is a little bit different? And you started telling yourself something like, I am beautiful because I am alive. I am loved because I am part of God and part of this universe. I don't know what your because is going to be, but I can tell you this, that your reason, your why, your because determines the following. It determines whether you open to your own heart and the possibilities that are there and unlock those same possibilities inside of another, or if you have another destructive relationship or business. Because inside of every man, woman, and child is quantum potential, just as it is in each and every one of us. And we, through our perception, through our attitude, through our narrative, determines what we unlock in people. I have found in people that most people have considered sleazy, I have found in those people the greatest hearts. I have found in people that some people will consider slutty, the most virtuous of hearts. I have found in people that were great and beautiful on the outside, the other part. What I'm saying is not to be blind to the different sides, but I'm saying to you this, that what you focus on, you experience. And whatever you experience the most, if you look back at this week and you say to me what your 5 top emotions were, honestly think back. Were they joy? Were they love? Were they gratitude? Or were they stress, depression, confusion, anxiety? Because if you're really going to be honest about the emotion inside, then you're for the first time going to be honest, not to the BS you're telling yourself you believe about your world, but the story that's really in your heart that's determining your world. And that's the only story that counts. So when I talk about self-love, I don't just mean your ego self. I mean the part of me that dwells inside of you and the part of you that dwells inside of me. I mean the part of us that dwells inside of all of nature and of all of life that's outside of this realm, that our cerebellum picks up that 40 billion bits of information from, that sea of information that comes through to your nervous system as desire, which in its Latin root means of the Father. The origin of your want is the voice of God inside of you. Whatever you call that, universe, God, the infinite potential, the quantum self, it's speaking to you through your dreams and your desires and your hopes for your life. And it's saying to you, this is your destiny. This isn't your like, this isn't your mood, this is your purpose. And you have a responsibility to believe in your value. You have a responsibility to believe in your capacity to achieve that. Not something to happen, but in you. This is the moment you become the alchemist. This is the moment that you take this fundamental hallucination that media has been trying to shape for us, called us, and you transform it into something that's divine, not disconnected. And you realize that the voice that you are feeling and the dream that you have is the one that all of us have at some level. Because we all want to love, and we all want to be joyful. Because we are all one being. And it's time that we started telling a story. And we started living that story. So that we can find a unity as a people that doesn't just stem from one level of need. And that's why a lot of these teachers that I've gathered here and the ones that we will gather to continue this thing, they speak about sexuality. Because they teach us how to appreciate and value ourselves. They teach about the mind because they teach us to value the thoughts and the impact that they have. And as we continue to attract more and others who will serve on this space with us, and I welcome you all to do the same thing, to remember the one thing, the path that we are supposed to teach, the path that we and all the great mystics and all the great healers of this entire world was all about was one thing. Reminding us, as the old Sanskrit world had, is that there are more than 300 and different types of expression of love. And we're only beginning the journey. So I welcome you to participate in this journey with us and follow that journey. And let's unlock love together by building a story together. Thank you very much.